Hello dear students, welcome back to our channel Science is Everywhere Class 10th। इस वीडियो में मैं आपको प्रोवाइड करने वाला हूँ सीबीएसई के पिछले सालों में यानी प्रीवियस ईयर्स में जितने भी इंग्लिश सब्जेक्ट से आपके जो भी टर्म टू का सिलेबस इस बारी आपसे पूछा जाने वाला है उसमें से जितने भी वैल्यू बेस्ड क्वेश्चंस यानी लॉन्ग आंसर टाइप क्वेश्चंस, अगर आपने सैम्पल पेपर खोल के देखा होगा तो एंड में लिटरेचर पोर्शन से आपसे लॉन्ग आंसर बेस्ड क्वेश्चंस पूछे गए हैं एंड जनरली बच्चों के मार्क्स वहीं पे कट होते हैं। तो इस वीडियो में मैं आपको वही प्रोवाइड कर रहा हूँ यानी प्रीवियस ईयर्स के जितने भी लॉन्ग आंसर टाइप क्वेश्चंस फ्रॉम योर करंट सिलेबस ऑफ टर्म टू पूछे गए हैं वो सारे इसमें डिस्कस करने वाला हूँ एंड मोर और लेस रिपीट ही होते हैं क्वेश्चंस। तो अगर आप ये सारे क्वेश्चंस अच्छी तरह कर लेंगे तो आपका ही बेनिफिट होने वाला है एंड साथ ही आपको मार्किंग स्कीम भी प्रोवाइड कर रहा हूँ कि कैसे आपको अपने आंसर्स को लिखना है। अगर ऐसे लिखोगे तो पूरे नंबर मिलेंगे आपको लॉन्ग आंसर टाइप क्वेश्चंस में और एक भी मार्क इंग्लिश में नहीं कटेगा। सो लेट्स गेट स्टार्टेड विद द वीडियो। बट अगर आप इस चैनल पर नया है तो प्लीज़ कंसिडर सब्सक्राइबिंग टू दिस चैनल, give this video a big like and share it with all your friends. Let's get started with the first one. What lesson did Kisa Gautami learn the second time that she had failed to learn the first time? Let's read the answer. Kisa Gautami understood that death is common to all and that she was being selfish in her grief. She understood this only the second time because it was then that she found that there was not a single house where somebody's beloved had not died. At the first time, she was only thinking about her grief and was therefore asking for a medicine that could bring back her son. At the second time, when she met Buddha, he asked her to get a handful of mustard seeds from a house where no one had ever died. He did this purposely to make her realize that there was not a single house where no beloved had ever died, and that death is natural. When she went to all the houses for the second time, she felt dejected. She felt dejected that she could not gather the mustard seeds. Then, when she sat and thought about it, she realized that the fate of men is such that they live and die. Death is common to all. That was, I'm sorry, this was what Buddha had intended her to understand. You can definitely take the screenshots and learn the answers. Let us go on to the second question. Describe the journey of Siddhartha Gautama becoming the Buddha. Okay, now you can present your answers in two ways. I'm discussing both of them. The first method is this. Gautam Buddha began his life as a royal prince. He was named Siddhartha Gautama at 12. Gautama was sent away for schooling in the Hindu sacred scriptures. At the age of 16, he returned home to marry a princess. The prince was deliberately shielded from all the sufferings of the world by his family. But this attempt was failed when the prince chanced upon a sick man while he was hunting. Then he saw a weak aged man and a funeral procession. Finally, he saw a monk begging for alms. These sights of suffering, sickness, and decay shocked the prince. He wanted to seek the final solution to all these sorrows and sufferings. He wandered for 7 years in search of enlightenment. Finally, he sat down under a fig tree. He meditated there until he was enlightened after 7 days. He renamed the tree as the Bodhi tree or the tree of wisdom. He then finally came to be known as the Buddha, the awakened, or the enlightened one. The Buddha gave his first sermon at Banaras on the river Ganges. You can also present this answer in another way. Let me discuss even that also. Gautam Buddha, who started his journey as a prince, was sent away for formal schooling at the age of 12. 4 years later, he returned with education in Hindu sacred scriptures to marry a princess. They lived happily together for 10 long years and even had a son. But once, on his journey, he came across a sick man, a middle aged man, a funeral procession, and a monk begging for alms, disturbed by the sufferings of the world. He, at the age of 25, left his home and went in search of enlightenment. He wandered for 7 years and finally sat under a peepal tree. 7 days later, he was bestowed with enlightenment and he named the tree as Bodhi tree, the tree of wisdom. Thereafter, he became Buddha and started spreading enlightenment. I want you please confirm that whether he sat in the people tree or the fig tree, and because these answers have been taken from the marking scheme and according to the chapter, they can be little bit mistakes. So please verify. And I think the first one is a more descriptive answer for a 4 marker. By the way, it's your choice which answer you want to write. Okay, next. Why did Gautami go to the Buddha? What lesson did he teach her? Okay. Kissa Gautami, I'm telling you the answer now. Kissa Gautami was a young woman who belonged to a wealthy family. She was married to a merchant. When her 1 year old child fell ill and died, she was grief stricken and couldn't bear his death. She took her dead child in her arms and went door to door begging everyone to tell the way to get her child back to life. Nobody helped her and instead thought her to be crazy, but she didn't give up. Then she came across a Buddhist who suggested her to meet Buddha as only he could help him. That's why Gautami went to Buddha. Buddha taught her the lesson of life and truth. When she told Buddha the whole story, he listened to it with patience and asked her to collect mustard seeds from a house where no one had ever died. She went from house to house, but she couldn't find a single house where no one had ever died. Ultimately, she understood that Buddha had been trying to explain her that suffering is inevitable, and in this way, she realized that death is the ultimate truth and one has to meet his destined end one day. No one can avoid it. So she took her child away and became Buddha's follower. Okay? So in this way, you can present the complete answer. Let's come on to the next question, which had been asked in the previous years. What lesson on death and suffering did the Buddha teach Gautami in the chapter The Sermon at Banaras? Again, a kind of a repeated question only, so you can mix your answers while writing. Let's see the way they have written in this. In his sermon at Banaras, Buddha taught Gautami that the life of mortals is brief, troubled, and combined with pain. Death is common for all, it cannot be avoided. He compared human life to ripe fruits that eventually decay or as earthen vessels that will break someday. Neither a father nor his kinsmen can save anyone. Weeping or grieving cannot bring back the dead to life, nor bring peace of mind, but only cause pain and suffering to the grieving body. One should accept death without lamentation, complaint, and overcome sorrow and grief, thus bringing peace of mind, which is a blessing. Or you can also present the same answer in another way. Let me tell you the wordings. Buddha taught the lessons on death and suffering to Kissa Gautami in a very subtle way. He taught her that sobbing and lamenting can't bring the dead back to life. One can't obtain peace of mind by lamenting, rather, his pain will be greater and his body will suffer. He will make himself sick and pale. He who seeks peace should draw out the arrow of lamentation and complaint and grief. He who has drawn out the arrow will obtain peace of mind also. He who has overcome all sorrow will become free from sorrow and be blessed. He says that human lives will break corruption at some point of time. But I think the better answer is this one only because it covers almost everything. And you can definitely include some lines from this answer in the answer above that you can write on your own. Okay. Next. Question is, the life of mortals in this world is troubled and brief and combined with pain. With this statement of the Buddha, find out the moral value that Kissa Gautami learnt after the death of her child. So let us see the answer for this question. Kissa Gautami learnt that death and suffering are the part and parcel of life. Nothing is everlasting, and one has to accept this truth in the hour of grief. Detaching themselves from the worldly life and the far-sightedness to gain peace of mind, one must remain calm and composed. Weeping and grieving does not bring peace but pain, which will affect the body. People who are wise never complain or lament over their loss. They accept the truth and are blessed with it. So, wisdom lies in the fact that the people should not get distressed with pain, suffering, and death. Okay, next question. Through the sermon at Banaras, the Buddha preached that death is inevitable and we need to overcome the suffering and pain that follows. Based on your reading of the lesson, write how one should cope with the death of a loved one. Okay, let us see the answer. And this is the last answer that we are going to see. Everything we need to achieve has to undergo pain and suffering. We must let go of grief and sorrow and even the fear of death to step out into the world to achieve something. World is afflicted with death and decay, nothing is spared and no one can avoid it. If we fear or grieve over the death of a loved one, it will not lessen our sorrow, nor will the person come back to life. In fact, we will end up spoiling our own health instead, peace of mind. Surrendering selfishness and leading a virtuous life is the safest option. So, dear students, with this we complete all the value based and the long answer type questions which have been asked in the previous years. I hope so that, and I hope affirmatively, positively, that you are definitely going to use these and take the maximum benefit out of this and try to make your own notes and prepare for the long answer type questions for your term 2 board exam English. All the very best, class 10th, dear students.